Hey, jmcGarage for another jmcGarage review. And as you can tell by the thumbnail, I'm going to be reviewing a car that you've already seen. It's actually been discontinued. In fact, it rolled off the production line last year. April of last year is when this vehicle was actually discontinued. Now, for this week, I'm out in Alaska visiting and doing, I'm part of a conference. It's part of the reason why I'm dressed the way I am, but I wanted to capture this video and capture this vehicle to see, is it really a miss that Ford discontinued it, or should they have really kept it going? So let's kind of go into it here. So this right here is the 2024 Ford Edge, and not just any Edge. This is the titanium top of the trim level. The only thing that's higher than this trim level would be the ST that comes equipped with the 2.7 liter V6. This particular Edge is a titanium, and it pretty much has every single bell or whistle. As you can tell, I'm up here in Alaska. This is all-wheel drive. Now, one of the things that Ford has done for the last year for the Edge is they pretty much equipped it with everything they could. LED headlights, LED running lights, LED fog lights. We have on the titanium this chrome kind of a mesh grille. This does have adaptive cruise, but we'll get into that in the interior. This does have incandescent turn signals, and on the back, one of the things I noticed with the Ford Edge is that the titanium and the ST have a different taillight design and different taillight signature than, let's say, the base Ford Edge, which actually uses kind of a similar design, but the lighting signature is very different. Anyway, so let's go ahead and go into the back here. Of course, power lift gate. And you do get at least a donut spare, but you do get a spare tire and some great storage back here. I'm just going to put that down. Again, power lift gate. And let's go check out what's underneath the hood of the Ford Edge. Now, pretty much the Ford Edge comes standard with all the same engine except for the ST. If you didn't get the ST, you were stuck with this 2-liter old school EcoBoost inline 4. Now, this 2-liter is based off the Mazda MZR family. This is not a part of the new Ford's MPC engine family. This kind of their older design 2-liter. Still makes 250 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque, but in an SUV that weighs upwards of 4,100 pounds, this thing is a little underpowered. I'm just going to say right now. And some people may disagree, but I just think it's a little underpowered for especially how heavy, and this is a heavy vehicle for how heavy this thing is. All right, let's close up the hood and meet me inside, and we'll talk about really should Ford have canceled this vehicle or not. All right, we're inside the 2024 Ford Edge. Again, this was last year for the Edge. Here for currently in the US. I know the Edge is still being made and produced in China, and of course its platform, well, its sibling, the Lincoln Nautilus, which is actually shipped over from China and actually imported here into the US, since the factory that this is made in Ontario, Canada, the Oakville assembly plant, no longer produces the Ford Edge. In fact, they canceled after April 2024, and Ford was at first retooling that factory to implement electric vehicles and all that, but I think Ford is now going to be using that factory now to make Super Duty trucks and some other vehicles. But I don't know. It depends on what happens in the future with tariffs and all that. Ford may even just outright not even use that factory at all. We'll have to see. But as of right now, let's go ahead and talk about some of the pros and cons and some of the last years of the Ford Edge and why Ford kind of let this thing languish. Now, let me be clear, Ford did give this vehicle an update in 2019 or 2020? I think it was 2019. Ford gave this vehicle an update. This body style Edge came out in 2016, and actually came out in 2015 rather, and Ford gave it an update for 2019. And then Ford kind of let this vehicle languish a little bit before it kind of canceled, and last year was the last year for this vehicle. Some different things that are unique to the Edge that I never quite understood. Now, again, when this body style of Ford Edge was introduced in 2015, Ford was still in kind of a weird phase. They were introducing some different electronics, and they were kind of sticking with some others. And some of those things never left the Edge body style. For example, these turn signal switches are kind of like 2015 era Ford. The turn signal and the wiper stalk are very 2015 era Ford. This steering wheel itself is very 2015 era Ford. The gauge cluster, look at this. Last time I seen a gauge cluster like this was on a 2011, 2012 Ford Explorer. In fact, 2011 was the first year for this style gauge cluster. And then they just let this thing just carry on in the Edge. The headlight controls are very reminiscent of a 2015 to 2014 and earlier Ford models. Same thing with the controls here for the windows. And the only thing that really, when Ford updated this vehicle, they updated, of course, the styling, the front and the rear tail lights and some other things. But the biggest thing they updated was this guy right here. Now, when they introduced this vehicle, I think it was 2020 when they updated it, they gave it Sync 4 with this tablet style screen. Beautiful screen, by the way. I believe the Sync 4 does work well. It's kind of similar to what you see in the new Ford Ranger. And again, you see it here in the Ford Edge. They kind of somewhat implemented it in here. You can tell this vehicle was never designed to have this screen because it looks a little weird, looks a little different. I have Android Auto running, of course. My phone is connected. One of the things that I don't like about this particular screen is I have to go in to the touch screen to, this isn't too bad, but just to work the fans, I have to do that, and then I have to do this, and I wish I had a dedicated fan button, or it gets a little tripped up sometimes. Anyway, this is called Sync 4A because it's in a tablet style, kind of a portrait design. Then my heated seats are all down here. This has a heated steering wheel, being titanium. This also has a pano moonroof. So let's kind of talk about, should Ford have canceled the Ford Edge, or they should have let it continue on into the new body style? Now, I'm of the camp of yes and no. Yes, I believe that Ford really should have canceled the Edge. At least this one should have died off a couple years ago. And they should have really introduced a new body style that we have in China over to here, but they should have made it in the Oakville assembly plant. The reason why Ford canceled this body style is because it wasn't selling very well. And there's some reason, but some other people say that it was selling pretty decently for what it was. I mean, if you compare the sales to the Chevy Blazer and others of this size, of course, it was, I believe it was right up there with the Blazer. If not, some months it was actually outselling the Chevy Blazer. But compared to other vehicles in the same category, it fell way behind. So, I don't know, and I know that Chevy just recently is canceling the Blazer after 2025. So, at least the gas Blazer. Maybe Ford could have brought this back as an EV or just dedicated hybrid. Sort of like what Toyota did. What was that with the Venza? And now it's called the Crown Signia. What a weird name, Toyota. Anyway, Ford could have done something similar. They could have brought over the Evos. I don't know if you guys ever saw the Evos concept. That would have been a cool thing to bring over and kind of be a replacement for the Edge. Maybe make that just a hybrid-only trim or hybrid-only vehicle and stuff like that. I just think Ford could have, again, should they have canceled this current body Edge? Yes. But I think they should have brought something over to replace it, like the Evos or something similar to that, and just made it maybe all hybrid only or something like that. So I'm kind of a mixed feeling. But there again, this current body style Edge, one of my biggest issues I have with it is just the mixed bag of technology. Like, you got old school Ford here, new school Ford here, and not even their newest stuff, but still new school Ford here, and just kind of a mixed bag of just kind of materials and textures. Yes, this is all soft touch and everything else. I love the stitching on the door here, on the center console. This didn't even have drive modes. The only drive mode it has was a sport mode they hid in the center of the shifter. I don't even get paddle shifters. Unless you have an ST, then you have paddle shifters. But this didn't even have drive modes. So, just some very unique things about the Edge. The driving position of this current Edge is a little weird for me. In fact, let's go ahead and go onto the road, and I'll give you my overall impression as we drive out here in Alaska. Heading to the conference again over at Kings, Alaska. Anyway, I don't know. I think this will make a good used vehicle. It's been a great rental. But at the same time, I think Ford could have done a little bit more with the Edge. Now, the vehicle handles fine. It takes bumps very well. The all-wheel drive system, even though you really can't choose any drive modes or really do anything with it, it works well. This rides on 20-inch rims, and I don't feel the ride is adversely affected. It actually handles very well for itself. The driving position for me is a little weird. Just the way the floor is and the seats. And the seats here, I'm not a big fan of these seats because I'm sure the heating works great in the winter, but in the summer, they're not ventilated. So they don't have perforations in the seat. These seats would be unbearable in the summer. That's where the ST would come in. The ST actually has the perforated, the micro suede seats. I forget what the name they call that suede, but it's kind of like faux suede, but it works really well. I think it's called Miko. Anyway, but there again, we're going out to the highway here. It gets up to speed okay, but man, does it just struggles. It really does. I think the 2-liter is just underpowered for how big this SUV is. If you were going to get an Edge, I would suggest getting the ST with the 2.7. That's a fun vehicle to have. I love the way the ST looks. Yeah, that would be my suggestion. And I think some deals can be had. If you can find a used one, go for the ST. Can't go wrong with the ST. You're going to suffer a little bit of fuel, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think you're going to suffer that much. I've been averaging only 21 miles to the gallon in this thing. 21. Now, granted, it's been cold. It's Alaska. I understand that, but 21 for me out of a 2-liter turbocharged engine in a 4,100-pound SUV, when I could probably get the same fuel mileage, maybe a little bit worse, maybe 1 mile per gallon less in the V6, I would say it's worth it to go with the V6. Yeah. Anyway, you guys be blessed. We'll catch you on the next one, and we'll have some more videos coming. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and stay tuned for more videos that are coming. I will say the adaptive cruise works great in this. Awesome. Be blessed, and we'll catch you on the next one.